Hello, it's Melinda from Alexis and Melinda's Art Space. How you going today? So we are doing an art journal page today. So this is the sped up voiced over version of the longer video that will be just before or just after it in the list. So I'm working in my altered book. This is a page that has some Lindy Stamp Gang powders sprinkled on it, and then put a blob of gesso on the left hand side and scraped it across. I did this as a demo in a class. So I'm doing an image transfer. So an image transfer is either a magazine page or a laser printout. You put some gel medium on the surface you want to transfer it to, and on the picture you want to transfer it to. It's these little shutters that I thought I'd transfer. Haven't done a lot of gel medium transfers before. Some have varying aspects of success. The darker the image or the more contrasty the image, the more it sort of works. And I'm just using Liquitex gel medium. So you want a gel medium that's quite thick. And then you want to leave your book for overnight, preferably for several hours. You can see the light changed. I did that late at night, and then actually I left this one, to be honest, a few years. Oopsies. I just never got back to it and thought, I've got half the video there, I may as well finish filming it. So I deliberately didn't put the gel medium right to the edge of the paper, because I wanted to be able to peel some of the paper off. So I peeled some of the paper off. Then you use a squirt bottle or a spray bottle and spray some water on top of the paper. And what you're trying to do is take the top layer of paper off, and the gel medium has sort of soaked up the ink, and the picture should be on your page, and you shouldn't be rubbing that off because the gel medium has sealed it down. Clear as mud, right? So this does take a little bit of time. It is a little messy. So you don't want to flood your page with too much water, but you want your page soaked enough so you can sort of rub over the paper and you'll start getting little peels of paper up. You know when you get an old sort of woolen jumper, you get like those little bally things on it? That's sort of what happens to the paper when you rub and rub and rub, you get these little ballsy bits of paper. So just trying to rub off as much of the paper as I can. Keep wetting it as I need to, again not flooding it, but just making it wet. And I wish I could do it this fast. It is a bit tedious and laborious, but you can sort of see, you can see the shutters, and then you can see up the top it's a lot more opaque, so you can sort of see where the paper has to come from. As it dries more, so when you think you've got all the paper off you want, dry your page, and then if it becomes cloudy, you've got more paper fibres to take off, a little bit more water, and you go at it again. Clear as mud, right? So you should be able to see the image. Now these shutters were probably not the best idea. I had an idea to, which I didn't end up doing, split the page and have something behind the shutters. Didn't end up doing that with this page, hence why I wanted to use the shutters, or the doors. And they were quite light, and it turned out quite pastel, but hey, it turned out pretty good in the end. So just giving it a good old dry from the back and the front. You can also feel with your finger when there's paper on the page, because you can feel it's sort of different layers as you do it more, unless my fingertips are quite sensitive and can pick that up. So now what? Got my shutters on, so I grabbed a bunch of supplies, some stencils from my store that I'll have linked below, Scrapbooking and Craft. So I start off with what stencil I'm going to do? Brick stencil first. So I thought that obviously the shutters are on a building, so I like my art journal pages sort of to be scene related and make sense. So I decided to grab some archival ink. The reason for archival is I didn't know what was coming next on my page, and I want it sort of to be grey black anyway. So I grabbed some archival black inks and just using a blending brush to put the ink through and keep lining up the stencil. Didn't want it to be very hard or harsh. Because the shutters were quite pastel coloured, I sort of wanted to keep the layout quite pastel coloured, which is usually not me. If you're a long time viewer of my channel, I don't do pastel really well. I don't do light colours. I don't do heritage browny colours. I like bright and bold colours, which I introduce a few as we go. So then I thought my bricks need a bit of cracking, so here's a new crackle stencil. I believe that's a new stencil that we haven't actually released yet. Oops, I got into the new stash of stencils. That one will be up 1st of December, I believe, 2023. The brick stencil is on the website. If you're really after it before then, let me know and I can put one in your order. just so behind in everything lately. Oh, it's ridiculous. I had a bit of an injury, and it's taking me longer to get over an injury than I anticipated, and it's slowing me down heaps, so can't get as much done in my day. So I grabbed this beautiful napkin. This one is on the website. My beautiful daughter Alexis, that will turn 16 at the end of the year. How have I got a 16-year-old? How did that happen? I'm getting old. She sources and well, we're out and about, and collects napkins and then sells them on my website. That's sort of her little side business. She was learning about school, so I sort of gave her a little bit to do on the business. We sell actually a huge amount of napkins, and so that's good for her. She helps me pick orders, and she does some of the uploading and some of the posting, which is really good. So just using the water cutting technique, so just with a brush and a bit of water, just drawing around the flowers to get that excess white off the top. Now the white on the napkin will disappear when we glue it down, but it was too much white, so I wanted to take most of that off. Between the flowers I don't mind. Here I'm just doing a bit of creative cutting and sticking. The napkin was not quite the size of the book, so I decided to get a bit creative, and you never know, unless you watch the video, that I did that. So to stick napkins down, or anything thin like collage paper, tissue paper, anything thin, you need a thin or a very liquidy adhesive. So matte medium, this one's Liquitex, or you can get Montmark matte medium in Australia, which is a more budget friendly brand, to stick it down. So you put some matte medium on your art journal page or your paper where you want your napkin to go. It dries clear so you don't see it, and then you gently go over the top of your napkin to seal the napkin in. A couple of reasons for that: it glues it down really, really well, plus it also puts a barrier on top of the napkin. So if I have a oopsie with my next layer, I put paint where I don't want paint, I have the opportunity to grab a baby wipe while the paint is still wet and wipe it off, and 99% of it will come off. So hence why I like to seal over the top of the napkins. And as I said, you don't really see it. I was showing you the front of my book again for some reason. I don't know why. Working in my altered book. This book is nearly finished. This is the second last page of the book I started in 2019. Actually, I was going back to find a video about altering books, and it was actually this book that I found for a lady, that I sent her the link to the video. And I said in the 2019 video, this book has 52 pages and I'll do it this year. 4 years later, I've just finished the book. So grabbing another stencil, this is one of my Vine stencils, and some, again, archival inks, because I don't know what's coming next, and they were the right colours. Just doing some vines. Just that top corner needed something, and I didn't want to put something bright and bold, I just wanted something subtle. So off camera I have stamped some Dina Wakley, and if I remember I'll put the name of the stamp set in the description box. Dina Wakley stamps on some watercolour paper, and I like to stamp my paper doll stamps a little up the page so I have the opportunity to give them bigger bodies. So just working out what 3 I want. Unfortunately there's only 2 on this stamp, and 2 of the 2 different designs, so I do a bit of creative hairdressing in a minute to make a slightly different one. So the reason I stamped them onto watercolour paper, and this watercolour paper, here we go, here I'm giving her a haircut so she looks a bit different to the other one. The reason for watercolour paper is I wanted to add some colour to the images with watercolours. And this watercolour paper is not white, it's not stark white. Now stark white on this would have looked too stark, so it's like it's a dirty white. It's like a grey white paper, something I picked up at Kmart. Didn't realise it would be grey white paper when I picked it up, but I like to try different things. And obviously it comes in handy for certain things, but if you want a bright white paper, I wouldn't suggest that one. What am I doing? Oh, I'm moving my book out of the way so I can work on my little peoples. So I wanted to use that same stencil. I like repetition in my art journal pages, so the same stencil I used up the top, I'm going to draw a leafy design on my girls just to give them something. Deliberately drawing one line with the stencil, taking the stencil away and doing more of a scribbly line to match the scribbliness, that's the words I suppose I'm looking for, of the stamped image. So Dina Wakley's drawings are very loose and very they are precise, but very loose and very sketchy, so I'm trying to duplicate that down the bottom. Now if I'd stamped something like a Delusion stamp that is very exact and very fine and very detailed, it would have looked out of place. So I do like the look of my three ladies there, but spoiler alert, they don't stay there. So I grabbed some watercolours. These are PBO watercolours. Had these for a while. I used these in a class last month, and a lot of my colours got used up, so I've got to go find some replacement colours, which will be fun. I may have bought some, but I don't know where they are in my stash. So these little half pans of watercolours, I believe we can, I'm not a watercolour expert, I believe we can squeeze some more from a tube into it, and then we can just let it dry, and then we can use it. I've seen people do it on YouTube. People on YouTube do it. I suppose I can do it. So just adding some colour, mainly to the leaves and a little bit to their hair. I left their faces white. I'm not a person that loves to colour. This is about my extent of colouring. I don't do a lot of colouring. It doesn't excite me. This is about my limit. Highlights, I'll call it. I don't like adult colouring books. When they came out years and years ago, I'd buy an adult colouring book I really liked, like the designs in it. Wouldn't colour it. I'd buy a blank sketchbook and I'd redraw the designs. I don't know, my brain. Welcome to my funny brain. So just sort of, and I put a bit of colour around their shirts just to give them a bit of colour, but I didn't want to give them full colour, if that makes sense. So I want them still to be quite pastel-y and white-ish. Dirty, whitish, greyish, as the paper was. I don't know. So just giving them a bit of a dry. They dry really quickly anyway, because the watercolour paper is quite absorbent. So I'm not too fussy when I'm fussy cutting out. Just sort of going around the heads as much as I want to. Sometimes I'll sit there and be very fussy. I wasn't being very fussy today. And because this was thicker watercolour paper, I believe it was about 300 GSM, it was quite thick, so trying to fussy cut quite thick paper, you don't really get the fussiness that some people can get on thinner paper. Clear as mud, right? Oh, here oh no, I'm still putting them back in threes. I could fiddle around for ages of where I want them. And I had to be a bit careful because the first lady with the orange leafiness on her, she has roses that stick out in her head, so I had to be quite careful of where I put her. So I've drawn some patterns on the leaves just to give it a bit more different. Here I move one of the girls over the other side. Now usually I like things in threes. Yes, I do have 3 on my page. They're just separated by distance, but I moved one over there and I thought, oh, I like it. The second girl is looking to the right, so I wanted her on the left hand side of the page looking in, and the other 2 girls are looking face on. So just adding some word stickers. I wanted to add a title, but I didn't know what to do. I didn't want it to detract. I didn't want to put much over the shutters. So little word stickers on the people I thought would just be perfect. And we've got daydreaming on the first one, enjoy the moment. I've got my book off to the side. On the second one, and on the one on the right, we've got life is sweet. Oh, something's dropped over the wording. Oh no, it's a bit of fluff. bit of paper, bit of fluff. So gluing the girls down, because they are a watercolour paper and quite thick, I had to grab a really good craft glue. So the matte medium that we used to stick down the napkins wouldn't stick down these bits of paper. So I've been diving into my stash. This Prit gel is from my shop 15, 16 years ago. Oops. It was new, sealed in packet, and I opened it the other day because I was looking for some more glue. It works! I was shocked. It's my favourite glue, but the company no longer exists. So I decided it needed a border. I ummed and ahed for a little bit, and then just decided to do a scribbly black border with a fine black pen, and I did an oopsie up there, so I managed to take it off with a baby wipe. Just wanted something subtle, but it needed a closing border. So there is a longer version of this video if you want to see and have me talk you through it in real time. Sometimes speeding up the videos 4 times gives you a general overview, but if you want to follow along and sort of duplicate the page yourself or have a go, on my YouTube channel before or after this video will be the full length version, but it's about an hour and a half maybe, something like that. So we're just about finished, packing up my pens, being a good girl, putting things away. Got some still photos here at the end. Thank you ever so much for watching my channel. I'm hoping to be a bit more regular on this channel. 2023 was a shocker of a year, just my time has been diverted to other places. So I'm hoping 2024 is a whole lot better. If you see my diary, it's got lots of appointments for 2024 already. We'll get there. Thanks ever so much for watching. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Thanks very much. Bye for now.